What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Brandon's Face. It's the podcast about a playlist. I'm Jonathan Beardsley.
And I am Brandon May.
We are back on Wednesday nights for the first time in a couple weeks, and that feels good. And we have a lot to get to. A lot happened in the 1 week we were away, though. We had Lollapalooza last weekend. Did you catch any of that?
I caught a little bit of it. I saw Chapel Roan's crowd.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is the headline coming out of it. There were other performances, sure, but Chapel Roan's continued ascendancy to the throne of pop superstardom has hit a new level with what Lollapalooza organizers have now said is the biggest daytime crowd. They have not said biggest crowd altogether, which I don't think it is, but man, if you've seen the pics or videos, it's pretty insane. They had to move her to the main stage after her Governor's Ball performance a month or so ago. I don't know where this ends.
Yeah, man, she has said that it's kind of scaring her at this moment. Blink-182, I think, headlined, and they covered Pink Pony Club.
Shit.
For sure. Yeah, there's videos out there of Mark Hoppus singing Pink Pony Club, which is it really fucking wild, man.
Please
like,
throw
it really
that in
is
the show
crazy.
Notes. I need to see that.
I'll do that. I'll
YouTube.
find the video. My wife sent it to me because she's a big Chapel Roan fan now. I lucked out, and prior to her rise to massive pop stardom, I purchased the vinyl of Midwest Princess, I think is what it's called.
Standard, correct?
Yeah, I got the standard edition, just black single LP. I think it was like $24 or something like that. The Target exclusives now are going for like $48. They're all selling out in seconds. She has reached a point of saturation that is, quite honestly, it's going to be hard for her to top. It's going to be hard. I honestly feel a little weird about it. If I'm being real, man.
You aren't alone. I think she is the first and foremost one feeling that, as you touched on earlier. She said this fame is getting to an uncomfortable point. People know where her sister works, is showing up there. Like, very, very not cool things to deal with when you're from kind of a smaller Midwest town, especially. I mean, it's good for her. It's crazy that I think she could sell out an arena or a stadium right now if she really wanted to. Although her catalog maybe isn't quite big enough to sustain like a 2-hour show quite yet. But man, it is crazy that the fan demand is there at this point. So good for her.
Yeah, we keep getting on the Coachella subreddit, we keep getting people asking if she's going to headline next year. And it's like, bro, she played the Mojave tent last year. It's unlikely that she'll
even play
headline because... It's unlikely she'll even play, but to headline, you need to have like at least a couple hours of material. She's probably got 2 hours of material. 2 hours of material that people know.
Sure. Yes.
Probably not.
Yeah. I mean, she could do covers, all that. I'm sure she has many, many hours of material and could easily do a show. But in terms of released music since hitting this point, it's not quite there yet. I think that if she waits one more album and then does the arena or the stadium tour as the headliner, that'll be just probably a better show to build around. But man,
for God's sake, man, let the girl breathe, dude.
Yes, that's the thing. She has been playing, I think, a new song for the past few shows, so there is at least something in the pipeline. But I saw an interview she did with Elton John like a while back, and he was yeah, dude, like that's crazy that she's at that point, and he's talking about how much he loves Pink Pony Club and Good Luck Babe, and he's like, what's next, and I have no idea is pretty much her reply. Like,
right.
I was not prepared for this. I just put out an album, now I'm expected to follow this with another. It's kind of crazy, but as crazy as it is, I do think she's capable of it. Pressure makes diamonds, but we need to be very careful about how much pressure we're putting on her, for sure.
Protect Chapel Roan at all costs, everybody.
Yes. Any other Lollapalooza news?
Not Lollapalooza news, no.
All right, what do you got for music news?
All right, well, speaking of mega stardom, there was a Taylor Swift show that was about to happen today, I believe, or earlier today in Vienna that was unfortunately canceled because of, I think, a terror attack, which is
terroristic
fucking
threats,
wild, man. Threats, yeah. I think 2 people were arrested, though, which is wild, man.
Yeah.
That's let these women breathe, man. Like, stop. It's crazy.
Yeah, not cool, obviously, for the safety of everybody involved. Mostly the fans, probably even more so than her. Just this amount of people gathered in one space can be dangerous if somebody has dangerous intentions in any country. So I think that it's the right move. Question. Do you know about this new M. Night Shyamalan movie, Trap?
I don't. I stay away from trailers
So,
and things so that I'm surprised accordingly.
well, I'm going to spoil the premise for you because it is Josh Hartnett playing the father of a daughter, and he's taking his daughter to a concert from a Taylor Swift type. And when he gets there, he notices that the venue is surrounded by SWAT team, government officials, police. He asks a merch guy or a security guard working what's going on. They're there because the concert is a trap to get a serial killer that is going to attend the concert. So that's the basic premise of the movie. And it is so crazy that they could have literally just ran the concert, the Taylor Swift one, and done it as a fucking trap at this point. This could have been a true story in a matter of minutes, but obviously
Yikes.
they made the right move. It's crazy how fast reality imitates art, man.
That's. I don't even know what to say, John. That's wild.
I mean, yeah, I have not seen the movie yet, so I can't vouch for if it's good, and obviously they didn't do that at this concert, but it is crazy that a movie about, you know, a hypothetical Taylor Swift-ish character's concert being the venue for something like that is interesting. Yeah,
Speaking
man.
of M. Night, we just watched The Sixth Sense.
Okay.
Underrated movie.
Yeah, I will agree, underrated movie. He actually took a picture with some fan, I can't remember what country he was in, I think Italy, for a film festival, and they were holding up a sign that said, like, thanks for scaring the shit out of me as a child, and it's the alien walking by scene just printed out on a piece of paper, and he took a picture with them smiling. So, yeah.
That's awesome.
Sixth Sense holds up, for sure.
For sure.
Other
One more
news.
piece of music news for me. Nelly, unfortunately, has been arrested for the funniest thing. Apparently, he had a warrant for not having car insurance, which who does that? But that wasn't what he was arrested for, because cops probably wouldn't have done that. They arrested him with ecstasy in his pocket, which, honestly, good for him, man.
Yeah, I mean,
Just out here living his life. Post Dancing with the Stars, Nelly is out here popping mollies in the casino.
It is
good for
the
him.
Concert goers and apparently performers' drug of choice at times. That's interesting.
Good for him.
Yeah, I mean, one, always
Not
ask
good for
somebody
him
to
for
watch
being
your
arrested,
back
but-
on the rave floor when you're digging into your backpack, Nelly, but that's not a for sure thing either. That's kind of crazy. Related to that drug, I saw a picture somebody posted, and it's somebody holding up their phone at a concert, and their phone says Molly ? And the caption is just like, ma'am, this is a Faye Webster concert. So yeah, man, the kids like it. They like to have fun.
I can't blame them.
In other music news, Kanye West and Ty Dolla $ign have dropped Vultures Volume 2 this week. I have not listened to it. I don't really care to listen to it. What about you? Where are you standing on this one?
This is one of those stories that, like the album, keeps evolving. We have Milo Yiannopoulos weighing in on this. We have the album that continues to evolve and like
It's
be
a living,
updated.
breathing
So
album.
So I actually did listen to it drop day. I don't know if that was the original version that dropped at 3 a.m. because I wasn't awake at 3 a.m. because all of Kanye's fans are apparently late night fiends. But I did listen to it at about 6 o'clock in the morning that morning, and that was it. That I'm not gonna give any notes. I'm not gonna do my review. But it doesn't even matter, even if that was the case, because I can't go back and listen to the same album that I listened to because the dude is updating it like a Bethesda game.
Yeah, apparently, like, Apple is going to, email people the updated, like, versions of songs. It's a fucking mess, dude. They have gotten themselves in a mess, even agreeing to work with this at all. I'm not for this idea. I think it sucks.
Yeah, the news today is Milo Yiannopoulos has basically come out of all fucking people, which dude's a douchebag in and of itself, but of all people has come out and said that people have been taking advantage of Ye for years because of his addiction to legally prescribed nitrous from a dentist in California. This story will, of course, be updated not by me because I've at this point I've checked out.
Sure.
But
Yeah,
that's
thank
what's
you.
happened today, and I can't be less interested.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. Let's just end that story right there. Only other little bit of music news I have is regarding Aerosmith. Weird article I saw today. They've had their farewell tour booked for a long time. It's been postponed many times, and they finally came out today and canceled it because I guess Steven Tyler has had, so many, I think, vocal surgeries and stuff that they said he will just never recover from at this point. What? I mean, obviously you and I aren't like, man, really had our hopes up for that concert, but like, I can't imagine having farewell tickets to an artist I love and being like, this is it, I'm finally gonna see him, and then it gets postponed once, and you gotta keep that enthusiasm, and twice, and now this happens. Man, it's gotta fucking suck, but it's also kind of a weird note for Aerosmith to end on, because you and I were around in the 90s, and they were rock gods then. It's kind of weird.
Oh, they were around
how
then.
far they've fallen into obscurity, right?
I actually met Steven Tyler.
Go.
I actually met him when he was in rehab, which is unfortunate. But yeah, actually, I've worked at the Albertsons right around the corner, and I was like, "Hey, you're Steven Tyler." He was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Let me know if you need help finding anything." Yeah, that was that.
On the chicken sandwiches in the deli, but
Hey, bro, those nibblers were fire.
the
Let's not
nibblers
lie.
were fun.
Look, man, I can't feel bad for people who had Aerosmith final tour tickets when dude has been having vocal surgery since the late 90s.
Yeah.
I mean, he's abused his voice. His vocals were always like that, you know? It's like going to see Vince Neil from Motley Crue right now and being like, this is going to sound great. Nah, bro. Sorry.
Dude, when I saw Motley Crue in like 2006, I was fully prepared for him not to sound great already then. Yeah, you got to be realistic with your expectations right now.
If you wanted to see Aerosmith, you would have already done that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think there's a lot of millennials like you and I haven't listened to Aerosmith in a long fucking time. I think I have one of their records. I never put it on.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
my mom was a huge Aerosmith fan, so we had their like greatest hits growing up. I listened to that a lot, but beyond that, beyond the Armageddon soundtrack in the early 2000s, it's just not music I go back to very often, but Rock and Roll Hall of Famers for sure.
okay, I'm gonna throw Armageddon on just in honor of Aerosmith.
Please, and if you can, listen to the director's commentary, because there's a part where Ben Affleck is, breaking down the plot of they have to get these oil drillers and teach them to blah, 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 so they can do this in space and break apart the asteroid. And he was talking to the director, and he's like, wouldn't it be easier to teach the astronauts to be oil drillers than to teach the oil drillers to be astronauts? And the director was just like, fuck you, just make the movie.
Irrelevant.
So, keep that in mind while watching it. And also the animal crackers scene, just fuck that shit forever. That shit haunted me as a kid. All right, let's get into this week's episode, man. We got a lot of good music to talk about, starting with a banger from Muramasa and Cherish. It's called Fly. No idea if it's part of a new album. Don't care. I love this song. What about you?
What a massive tune, John. This is just great. No,
Yeah.
I was actually surprised. I was like, oh, John, because for people who don't know, John sorts the playlist for us because he's the master of playlisting. And I was like, why would he put a Muramasa song in front of the Jamie XX track? And it turns out I get it.
It had to go first. Yeah, it was like, dude, the playlist has to start with Fly. It's a banger. Speaking of that new Jamie XX song, it features the Avalanches. It's called All Your Children. Last two singles have been a little bit more of a grower for me, but I'm at the point where I am loving all of the singles now. I'm very excited for the album. What about you?
John, this is my song of the week. I cannot get enough of
shit.
this song. Oh, I just couldn't stop, bro. This track is the best of the rollout for me so far. The others have been good. Like you said, a little bit of growers. You got to listen to them five times for it to be like, okay, I fucking get it now. This one was just instant for me. Jamie XX is bringing it on this one.
Yeah.
And, of course, the Avalanche is coming in with those samples that they're known for. Bro, this might be a classic for me.
Yes. If you are waiting in line to submit your EDM Album of the Year ballot, please continue waiting until the Jamie XX album is out, because this one is
Right.
shaping up to be a fucking classic, dude. Talk to me about this new one from Rufus Du Sol, Lately.
Look, man, the last couple of singles, dude, the lyrics on this project are less than what they've done in the past. It just feels a little on the nose, right? The last one was kind of
Very
the same
cheese,
way.
yeah.
Other than that, John, this track is fucking great. I'll like whatever project they drop on because I like cheese. This might be cheese turned up to about 12, but the music is great.
Has anybody ever seen Rufus Du Sol and Bob Moses in the same place at the same time? Because I am almost convinced they're the same group at this point, dude.
I actually have.
Well, then there you go. You've settled it for me.
Yeah.
I agree.
I saw
with
them
you.
at LA Historical Park. It was who was it? It was, oh man, there was one opener. Lotto.
Oh.
No, was it might have been Lotto, Bob
rapper?
Moses and Rufus Du Sol. No, not Lotto. It wasn't Lotto then. It starts with an L, whatever. Bob Moses opened for Rufus and it was a fucking great time.
Oh, I mean, it sounds like a very good show. I like both. They just have a lot of similarities, especially over these past few years. It's a good song, though. I agree with you. Other than the cheese, very solid.
Yep.
New one from Caribou. It's his interesting take on Pump Up the Volume. What'd you think of this one?
Another day, another Caribou banger, John.
Yeah. Yep. He's been on a roll this year, dude. This is his like third or fourth banger in a row.
Let's go.
Yeah, and I love how barely recognizable the actual song is. So props to him. Good one.
Right.
I think he's going on tour, so that's going to be a good one to add to that set. We got a new one from Nero called Solar. I mean this in the best way possible. It sounds like Nero. Like, that's about all I have to say. I'm really excited for this album.
Yeah, right. At this point, I'm fucking stoked, man. I just can't wait to hear the album cuts at this moment.
Dude, same. I'm hoping for some, like, weird, just straight dubby shit in there. Like, you know the vibes, the Welcome Reality vibes.
Right.
I think we're going to get some. All right, we got the Billie Eilish remix of Guess by Charlie XCX. This was never going to surpass the cultural reset that the Girls So Confusing remix with Lorde created, but I think it's fun for what it is. It's Billie's first collab in over 6 years, and I think it's good. What about you?
I like everything about this except for Billy's part.
Is it part? Is that like what bugs you, or is it the lyrical content of the verse? Or both?
It's the way she does like this.
Yes. Yeah, I saw somebody on Twitter say, Billy's singing out of key, and I'm like, Billy's not singing, so
Yeah,
impossible.
Billy's not singing. It's the same notes I have on her last album. Stop singing like this.
Just lean closer. Get closer to the speaker, Brandon. You'll hear it better. I won't disagree with that. Didn't love that part. All right, we got a new one from Magdalena Bay, Tunnel Vision. Holy shit, dude. 2 of the 3 singles we've heard so far have been 5+ minutes. Like, I love that they're just going all out on this album. It feels like, you know, obviously some ideas are going to hit the cutting room floor, but it feels like any good idea they can get on this album will be on this album, and I think that's evidenced by some of the instrumentation in this song. What did you think about this one?
So when we reviewed Mercurial World, I actually went back to our review of that album and specifically what I had written. I loved the album. Obviously, I bought it on vinyl. We listen to it pretty often. I think they're gonna surpass it, bro. Like these singles are fucking great, and with them giving every song the allotted like moments in time to like breathe and like become what they're gonna become, I am fucking so excited.
I think they're capable, but that is going to be a Herculean effort because 3 years later, I'm still listening to that album every month. We'll see, though. They are capable.
Aren't we all?
Got a new one from Flow. Check. I think everything they do is great. Just give us the album. This one's a little more pop R&B than straight up R&B, but I think they're equally as good at this sound. What'd you think of it?
This is so cute, bro. They really like this boy.
They do. I Am Boy.
Check.
They are singing about. All right, man. We got a new one from Jen Sami called Ice Cream. I don't think we've talked about her yet. I liked her EP last year. This did not do it for me. It's not so much her voice. I just found the horns and the instrumental to be almost immediately grating. What about you?
So the first time I listened to this song, I was like, what the fuck is this? And then the second time I was like, okay, this is kind of a bop. And the third time I couldn't get enough of it. The horns were absolutely grating at first, but I don't know, man. I don't hear much music like this, especially contemporary music
It's
like this
different,
anymore.
for sure.
It's definitely an extremely interesting sound. And by the end, if we're talking bop or not, I'd say it's a bop.
For sure. I'll go half bop on this one.
Half bop, I got you.
All right, man. It's my song of the week. Doechii,
I
Nissan
knew it.
Altima. Dude, oh my fucking God.
I knew it.
Holy shit. So for those who don't know, she released this song a few days, maybe a week earlier on YouTube. It featured cameos from Absol, J-Rock, I think a few of the other TDE people. And she's been doing this Swamp Sessions thing, these like things where she's giving herself an hour to make these songs, and then she's putting out these videos. Songs are usually 1 minute to 2 minutes long. This came in the midst of all that. I don't know if it was always intended for a release or if it was just so well received that she was like, I have to release this. But dude, this is one of, if not Doechii's best song. This shit is fucking so good, man. She just continues to blow me away. 3 of my favorite rap songs this year belong to Doechii, and she could easily add another to that if she wants. What'd you think about this one?
Oh, she absolutely destroys this. This is incredible. It's one of my favorite rap songs of the year, like you said, and it female, male, that doesn't even matter, bro. She just straight up destroys this.
Yep, hard agree, man. All right, we have the first official taste of the new A$AP Rocky album, finally. It is him and Jessica Pratt. Song's called Hijack. I'm just happy he's finally starting the rollout. I like the song, love the production. I'm on board so far. What about you?
Yeah, it's different than I expected, but I'm certainly a fan of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that it's kind of the direction he's been going, but you really never know what you're going to get with him. And I don't think we know what the album's going to be, even though we've heard a little bit of it now.
Right.
All right, talk to me about this new Delving one, Omnipresence.
All right, John. This is the most psychedelic elevator music I've ever heard of. I'm a big fan of this, John. They have an album releasing on the 23rd of this month, which is awesome. The way the synths are layered in, the way the bass line does its thing, the way the guitars kind of like glitter away as like the flute thing does its thing. I'm about it. I don't know if we talked about it when we covered their album a couple of years ago, but apparently this is the side project of the frontman for a band called Elder, who just opened up for Tool. Like his band just opened up for Tool, and this is like a side project that was started as like a studio thing, but they now have like a live presence. I really liked this. Did you like it?
We did talk about that. Yeah, dude, it's 7 minutes of pure jam session vibes. Of course I liked it. It's good stuff. I did not know that, though. That's very cool.
Yeah, I was actually showing my boy Irving, shout out to Irving, this song earlier today, and he was like, who is this? How'd you find this music? Like, how did you find this music? And I was like, I don't know how I find things. And so I looked it up, and apparently, yeah, it's the guy from Elder, and he is just straight killing it with both his band Elder and Delving, apparently.
Damn. Well, good for him, man. All right, we got a new one from Better Lovers, A White Horse Covered in Blood. Love this song. We finally have an album announcement. It's coming out in October. That is my new most anticipated metal album, my guy. What'd you think of this new single?
They have softened their edge just a little bit, but this song fucking rips. Yeah. There's no denying that.
Yeah, just a tad. I noticed that as well. I'm hoping that's not the case for the full album. We'll see. From Evergreen Terrace, Jail on Christmas. I hear you laughing already.
Say that sentence?
Yeah.
Did you just say that sentence? My God, man.
It's incredible. It's only 1.5 minutes. I wish it was 10 hours long. It's Evergreen Terrace. What'd you think of the new Evergreen Terrace?
Oh my God, man. This band has not stopped, apparently. They've stopped making music, but they haven't stopped understanding their assignment. The breakdown at the end of this song is fucking filthy. Dude. Just gross. Disgusting amazingness.
I agree, dude. Loved it. All right, new one from Maul and Vincent Benet. It's called In the Jaws of Bereavement. What'd you think about this one?
Vincent is the vocalist, or the lead vocalist rather, for the Acacia Strain. I think feature on this one. Maul has a new album releasing on 20 bucks spin on 10/4, and if it's anything like this, I'm gonna fucking love it.
Yeah, I could tell from the label and the artwork, it was just going to be pure fuck shit up vibes. I was not wrong, dude. The song absolutely rips. I did not know that was the singer of the Acacia Strain, though, so I'm going to have to go back and listen to that with that in mind.
Yeah, because I listened to it a handful of times, like a couple of times, and I was like, this guy sounds so who the fuck is Vincent? And so I Googled it, and I was like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. All right, one more single to talk about this week. I can just leave and come back in 30 minutes if you just want to talk about Opeth for that long. Honestly, I thought this was going to be your song of the week. It's their new song. I'm going to say S1 is the name of it. What did you think of S1. The new Opeth?
Oh, man. You know, Mikkel had said at the start of the Sorcerer or Sorceress rollout that death growls are no longer a thing. We're not going to do death growls anymore. We're not a death metal band. We're a prog metal / prog rock band. You guys are just going to have to get used to it. Like 5 or 6 years later, we get a random surprise. Here's some death growls back. I just wanted you guys to stop caring about them before I brought them back, which honestly is based as hell. I was wildly unexpected, bro. When I saw that Opeth had released a new song, I was like, oh, sick. Let me hear this. I haven't been like a giant fan of their newer stuff. And then he comes in with his signature growl, and I was like, oh my god. We have a new album coming out. Unfortunately, they've actually been dealing with some leaks, which I have not participated in, so I haven't listened to the leaks. I tend not to participate in leaks. That normally happens on the hip-hop side of things, hence Travis Scott walking around with some shit handcuffed to him. But it doesn't normally happen with metal bands, but I'm kind of sad it did on this one, even though, you know, it is Opeth. But I'm excited for the album. I'm excited for a couple new singles. If it sounds anything like this, or I mean, Ghost Reveries was one of the first prog metal albums that I actually gave like a full listen to, and like it really expanded the way I thought about death metal when I was a kid. So this is kind of bringing that sound back a little bit, and I am extremely excited.
Yeah, man.
I can keep going if you want me to.
No, I mean, you're more than welcome to. I agree with you. I'm not going to really add much to that, but I'm going to say I like the song mostly because it's got the growls. So they brought it
I haven't
back.
been
They
a
get
giant
me back.
Right, I haven't been a giant fan of their music since they've ended the heavier moments on their albums. If I were a betting man, I would bet that half of this album does not have growls. That's okay. I think that as long as they are done tastefully like they are in this song, and the heavy moments are juxtaposed by the cute little folksy, foresty moments, then that's what I love about Opeth, you know?
Yeah, I agree, man. Only one EP to talk about this week. It's from Reek. Abstract Reality is the name of it. It's our obligatory techno release of the week. And it's very solid at only 3 tracks. And the style being pretty minimal, there's really not a lot to break down on it, but it is very good. What did you think about it?
Drums on top of synth leads that go nowhere and everywhere all at once. I'm a big fan of this one.
Yeah. Brandon core at its best.
Yep, that's it. That's it.
We got a few albums to talk about this week, starting with the new one from Khalid called Sincere. I'm going to go first on this one, man. I'm not a big fan of it. I like a few of the songs. Overall, it's consistently good, but it fails to reach the same highs as his previous projects did for me. And at 52 minutes, it felt like a slog to get through at times. Not just because of the runtime, but because of the way the back half of the album is paced. It's very slow. The production, while good, does start to get repetitive. I've always been a big fan of his voice, but even I found myself hoping some songs would end a bit sooner. The album starts off strong enough with Adore You, moves pretty well through the first half, but from ground on, I struggled to stay engaged with this one, which bums me out because Scenic Drive was one of my favorite projects of 2021, and I was hoping for at least some of that vibe on here, but it's not that type of project at all, and that's fine. Not every project needs to be for everyone. He's young, very talented, and I'm still excited to hear whatever he does next, but this one ain't for me. It's between a 5 and a generous 6. I'm going to say my standout is either Adore You or Broken. What did you end up thinking of this new Khalid album?
That is interesting. I think I liked it more than you. So we got a handful of singles for this one. I actually liked all of the singles. Unsurprising for me. What I really enjoyed about this album was the first half. Like you said, it's definitely a little top heavy, right? 52 minutes gave Khalid quite a bit of room to breathe. I think he took up quite a bit of that time in the first half, letting the songs kind of breathe and progress the way they should have. But I think it suffers from being top heavy. I think if it was sequenced a little better, I think both of us would have liked it a little more. I still enjoyed it a little more than you. So here we go. His voice sounds fucking great over this whole thing, man. His range is honestly unreal. He's really showing it off. Tracks like Everything we see really show off how low he can go and still sound phenomenal. The production on this one is top notch. I think the sultry guitars over this really add a layer of like classic R&B revival into his sound, while the drumming is so like contemporary and polished. Tracks like Altitude are great examples of this. The dude just kind of floats over all of these tracks pretty effortlessly. It's all good. Should have been the lead single as far as I'm concerned, bro. That's my favorite song. That's my standout. Dude is just really talented. And that is the exact type of instrumental that he just kind of glides over, showing off his range, both highs, lows. It sounds like a 90s R&B, while like definitely still has that contemporary feel to it. Maybe it's just because I've grown so much as an R&B fan, John, but I really liked, like you said, up until Ground, and then it becomes too slow and a little bit of a slog. The first half, though, is like super fucking engaging for me.
There, yeah.
It's so engaging for me, man, and that's it. I'm a relatively new R&B fan, right? Like, you've been a fan since the early 2000s. I'm not going to say that I have anywhere near the breadth of knowledge that you do on R&B. I actually liked this one enough to give it a 7 because of that first half of the album. Yeah. But I actually, after Ground, I typically just like checked out while I was listening to it. So yeah, the first half of the album is great. If it was sequenced a little better, like some of those back half songs were sprinkled in between tracks, like It's All Good, I mean, maybe it would have been a little different. But I enjoyed it for what it was, and so I actually gave it a 7.
Hey, I think a 7 is more than a fair score. I could easily see myself going either way on it as time goes. That's just the way I felt about it this week.
Fair.
All right, new album from Killer Mike under the banner Michael and the Mighty Midnight Revival. I love that. The album's called Songs for Sinners and Saints. Look, man, I will happily listen to Mike rap for 40 minutes any day of the week. I'm not religious at all, so most of the spirit-heavy lyrics don't really land for me, but I can connect to the passion he's delivering the bars with. At 49 years old and 2 albums removed from the last Run the Jewels project, it's safe to say that he hasn't even began to lose a step when it comes to his technical ability or his uncanny way of turning verses into lessons. I might not like every album of his, but I always learn something. Overall, I'd say I'm a fan of this project. I thought that it would feel like a bunch of throwaways from Michael when it got announced, but it definitely feels like its own body of work. Hell, Slumber for Junkies is its own body of work in this album. Putting a 10-minute rap song on an album like this is great, and I hope we see more of that in the genre going forward. I have this one around a 6 or 7. Great intro. Humble Me is still solid. Slumber's fantastic, obviously, but my standout is 97 3/6 Freestyle. What was your opinion on this one, man?
So, I mean, I've actually had a little bit longer to sit with it.
You
than
have,
you have.
yeah.
I listened to it. I listened to it twice before we even threw it on the playlist, before it dropped on Spotify. I thought that when I got that email that we were going to hear a bunch of throwaways from Michael, or just a bunch of tracks that were a victory lap for Michael because he won the Grammy and swept the competition with his corny ass broom. But none of these are cutting room floor tracks, as some of these are actually really intentional and done really well. I can totally see why some of these may have been like recorded for Michael but didn't make it onto Michael. Like, I can see that. Yeah. But as an epilogue, bro, I respect it. Some of these are really heavy thematically, especially like Slumber, right? Mm-hmm. Killer Mike has never really shied away from heavy topics, and this project is no different. If it were a standalone album, which I don't think that it is, I think it would pale in comparison to the rest of his discography, if we're being honest, minus like a handful of songs, right? Tracks like Lord Prepare Me kind of lack in quality compared to tracks like Humble Me, which has Mike doing what this really is, right? A victory lap. I didn't really know if I should rate it. I gave it a 6. I think it's a solid 6. I don't think that there's much beyond that for me, but I think Slumber or Humble Me, both of those are great songs. Slumber being fucking like I remember I was doing something the first time that song came on. I was working and like so the first verse about his auntie came in and I was like, the fuck am I listening to right now?
Yeah, same.
And like I actually had to stop what I was doing and be like, all right, let me run this back, because he was talking about him and some junkies earlier. He can't be talking about that shit about his auntie. Turns out he was, and it was a whole thing. Like I remember being like, oh my fucking god, how long is this song? And you know how much I love long songs, so that was really cool. But yeah, man, I think that this is a great epilogue. I think he deserves a victory lap. Dude killed it.
I agree. Yeah,
with Michael. So we'll see this.
Yeah, I love these Album of the Year victory laps, too. I feel like Nas did that with Magic or whatever, and now kind of Killer Mike doing that with this one. Good for them. You've won the award. You get to do it.
Right, exactly.
All right, man. So we finally have the full version of the new Orville Peck album, Stampede, out. We've heard about half of these songs when we talked about Volume 1. Now that we've heard the full album, what are your thoughts on it?
All right, John, I'm just going to be real up front. I think this is just fine. It's a collection of a handful of new tracks with his part 1 that dropped earlier this year, like you said. That included a few covers. Look, man, his Bronco project really hit me. And as an introduction, was probably unfair if this is what we're comparing it to. The music itself is fine, but nothing really grabbed me this time around, and I think that's because the majority of these are collaborations. The covers kind of set that up a little bit, right? He's having fun with these collaborations, and I think that's perfectly all right. That being said, I think Orville himself sounds fucking great on this whole thing. His voice is the thing that drew me in, and honestly what keeps me here as a fan of him. It's special, and everyone who listens to him knows it, right? His cadence and his range, even his like unique brand of twang, are all on display here. I think there's a couple of collabs that I really enjoy, especially like his duet with Debbie Dawson. Shows off the incredible range that both him and her have. I really like Death Valley High track that he does with Beck. I enjoyed it. It was an interesting listen for the first few times, but I didn't quite like it as much as I liked it when he dropped the non-collab record in Bronco. Yeah. I'm going to give this one a 6. Ever You're Gone is going to be my standout. I believe that's the Debbie Dawson duet.
Yeah, thoughts? Man, literally the same, man. I'm just not really feeling it. I think it's fine for what it is. But I think I was good with the tracks from Volume 1 alone. We're well documented in our typical dislike of country music. Orville's one of the few artists in the genre that we've been able to bond over. His voice is outstanding. Bronco's a great album. He's made countless songs that I enjoy in the short amount of time that I've been following him. This project just didn't do it for me. I enjoyed some of it, like you. Chemical Sunset with Allison Russell is still my favorite. I really didn't enjoy other parts of it, the track with Diplo being the one that comes to mind first. But like I said, fine for what it is. We'll call it a 6 for now. My standout is Chemical Sunset. All right, man. This next one is my album of the week. It's the new one from JPEGMAFIA, I Lay Down My Life for You. I love this album, dude. It has surpassed Veteran as my favorite album of his. I think that it's his best rapping, best production to date. It's cohesive, well sequenced. Most importantly, it's full of the type of personality that only he can bring, or that I go to an album of his for. He opens the album up with one of the better basketball bars I've heard in a while. In fact, this album is just
I knew you were going to like that
with
one.
That last Action Bronson album in terms of quality sports bars. But it's so much more than just references to Catch, dude. As I just mentioned, the production on this album is incredible. Love the songs that are super guitar and drum focused. I love some of the heavier rap stuff. The features, while sparse, are great, especially the one from Vince Staples on Black New History. The album version of Don't Rely on Other Men blew me away. Really love the expanded outro. The Denzel collab's good. Hearing him work in Hearing him working some more like mellow and chopped up soul stuff over the back half of this album was really nice. In short though, man, there's a lot of stuff I like about this album, very little I don't. I have it in the 8 to 9 range. My standout is Ex-Military, but Sin Miedo and that one's got to be up there just for the coke in her butt R.I.P. Aaron Carter bar alone. So I'm going to say Ex-Military and Sin Miedo are my standouts. What did you think about this one, man? He's not an artist we've talked about a lot on here.
Oh man. All right. So I actually listened to this one quite a bit this week, John. I actually did not enjoy Scaring the Hose as much as everyone else did. So I went into this one with metered expectations. I came out the back of this extremely pleasantly surprised. I will preface all of this review with the fact that I have always found Peggy's production style to be a bit too overindulgent for me to enjoy like on a consistent basis, right? It reminds me of a conversation that I had with somebody about the death metal band Deicide. I showed them Deicide, and he said, I don't like that they're technical just to be technical, quote unquote. That conversation lives rent-free in my head for many reasons, but I thought about it while listening to this album because most of his work to me seems experimental just to like be experimental and different. This album seems far more refined and purposeful with the production actually working in concert with the vocals and verses rather than juxtaposing it, which at least most of the time on this one. Tracks like It's Dark and Hell is Hot kind of exemplifies this, man. The Vince Staples feature is fucking great on New Black History, and Peg does a great job of pretty much everything here. But my favorite parts are the drums on this song. My favorite part of this whole fucking album is the drums, if I'm being honest, man. The samples of classic rock tracks on the back end of a couple of tracks, like, really drives that point home, no? Dude just has a way with drums on this album, man. At just 41 minutes, this album is poised to be one of the most popular rap albums of the year. It's experimental, yet not abrasive. It's not short, yet not overindulgent. There's plenty of great bars, some decent features, and you've got yourself a fucking winner, man. Yep. I enjoyed this one a whole lot. In fact, a whole lot more than I thought that I was going to. Even if Peggy's rap style isn't normally my thing, nor is his production style the majority of the time. I do... For a second, I was gonna touch on the fucking hype this dude gets. I think it's embarrassing and kind of like telling on yourself when you hype stuff like this up. Electric guitars and rap. Oh my god, it's real drums. Do people only really listen to only rap? Like, this is the most electric guitar you've heard this year, bro? Get out of here. Other than that, I really, really enjoyed this album, despite the dick riders dick riding. And sure. I'm going to give it an 8. It's Dark and Hell is Hot is going to be my standout. I liked a lot of this album. The parts that I didn't like were really just personal preference items that brought it down the couple of points. It's really Peggy's rapping style that I'm not like a gigantic fan of. I'm normally not a huge fan of when he gets abrasive with his experimentalism, but he didn't really do that. He didn't right, and he didn't really dial it back this time. He just refined it, and that to me really set this one apart from what I've known him for. I actually had the chance to see JPEGMAFIA in 2015, I believe, at Hard Summer. And I remember even back then listening to the music and being like, the fuck is this? I don't like this. And people were hyping him up and talking about him even way back then. And it's never really clicked. But this album was different for me, man. I really liked this one. He really refined it, and it feels like he did it for me. So I just want to shout out to JPEGMAFIA. Thank you for doing this for me so I can finally really, really enjoy an album that you wrote.
Oh man, I don't think I've heard you get that dark in a while, Brandon. That was great. I disagree with a lot of what you said in terms of like the things you like about some of the things you do not like about it, or things I very much like about it. The way the internet receives his music is always going to be one of those things. These fan bases take on lives of their own and almost kind of make the artists less likable because of it at times. But beyond all of that, man, I think you nailed it with saying he didn't dial any of that back. He just refined it on this album. I think that really is the kind of takeaway, whether or not you've enjoyed his music or not. If you've heard his music then and you've heard it now, it has grown over the years. And I think that it's better in a way, man. like I said, I loved this one. I'm glad you at least enjoyed it more than you typically do a Peggy album. So thank you for that.
I really, really did.
All right, man. We got the long-awaited ISOKNOCK debut album, Forever. I did not know this was dropping this week. I had no thoughts in my head when I hit play on it for the first time. I even forgot we talked about the lead single they did with RL Grime already. I say all of this to say, I just hit play and let the album do its thing, man, and I had a really good time. It's a throwback to that period in the 2010s when the EDM boom coincided with the trap boom. Has all the DNA of artists like Flosterdamus and Hoochie, but is definitely its own thing now. They've done a great job building around the core elements of that sound to the point that they've created their own little subculture within it. The live clips of them do not give me FOMO as much as make me wish that I was still in my concert-going prime so that I could fully enjoy a show like that. I'm still able to appreciate them from afar, though, and I think that this will be an album I'm going to be appreciating for a while, I should say. I've known they were capable of making bangers, but I like that the back half of this project shows us a slightly more melodic side to their sound, and that they don't just only make bangers. Maybe an indication of where they could go in the future. It took me a while, but I think I'm fully on board the hype train now, man. Or at least I understand it. This one's a 7 for me. My standout is Thrash, because that intro is great. That second drop is fucking ridiculous. What'd you think of this one, man?
ISOKNOCK has hit the nostalgia button with this album, John, for better or for worse. Back when you and I were raving and DJing together, this was what we listened to quite a bit, and what you played in a lot of your sets.
Yes.
As the tracks kept coming, I kept thinking how sick these would sound in an illegal warehouse Kill It Dead set. You know what I mean? I'm not even... It's funny, though. This album had me reflecting on how much my music tastes have, quote, matured, even though I still quite like a bit of cheese in my music. My first instinct was kind of to like reel backwards at this and reject it, but I'm glad I gave it my 3 listens, though, because about halfway through my second listen in my car, I could not help but turn it up. This fucking bangs, bro. It is cheesy as hell. It's got some cliches and some massive corny moments, but I cannot help but relive my early 20s when this thing comes on. The production is obviously great. That Rock the Bells moment was fucking awesome. Yeah. The hype man moments on a couple of tracks are great. It's just a good fucking time, John. These dudes are going to clean up with the new ravers and the old festival goers alike, and as they should. I'll say that I personally like Knock 2's solo music by itself a little better, but this is only 28 minutes, and it's just a blast of energy, and it's so fun. I can't help but enjoy it. It's a 7 for me. My standout, it's Smack Talk. You knew that it was.
Great song. Yeah, the RL Grime head in you. It was always going to be Smack Talk. Yeah, man. Shout out ISOKNOCK. Great album.
Out ISOKNOCK.
All right, new one from Jack White called No Name. You've had longer with this one than I have as well, so please give me your thoughts.
I sure have. All right, I'll take it away. So the last time we reviewed a Jack White album was in 2022. I believe it was his second album that year, and I liked it a little bit more than you did, but it was not... The album beforehand had already broken my streak of like it, not like it, like it, not like it. So I'm just going to go ahead and go. This album's good, bro. It's full of the things that I love about Jack White. He's got great riffs. He tunes his guitar correctly. His voice sounds like him. There is not a lot of cringy lyrics to it. It's not trying too hard to be something it's not. This is just Jack White in the studio having fun, which is exactly why I like Jack White's music. It's when he's having fun and not really doing anything too serious. And that's it. That's my review, man. This is a good album. I'm gonna give it it's a 7, right? I liked it. It's not great, but it's really good. It's a good time, and yeah, I think I don't even have a standout. I didn't even write a standout down. I'm sure I can find one.
Yeah, I think that's how I'm feeling. I feel the same, man. Like, it's good. It's a 7. I do agree with you. It's a good Jack White album. It's all the high-quality riffage that you expect from a Jack White album. I'm just man, I'm just so burnt out on Jack White lately. I feel like, and I don't know if that's just, from listening to White Stripes so long and just like being at this point. He still makes good music. He still is a rock legend. When you hear him play guitar, it's fucking incredible. Like, the guy is great. Like I said, he's a legend. But yeah, this album's just going to come down to whether or not you have the patience or want to listen to a Jack White album. If you do, it's a good one. I'm going to say it's a 7 as well. That's how I'm feeling. It's my standout.
If you like Jack White, you'll like this album.
Yeah,
that's
really
basically
both
of our
right?
entire reviews.
Yeah, like, I mean, we've reviewed like 3 albums of his at this point, and I think you and I are kind of qualified to say this isn't anything like outside the box for him. This is the most Jack White album I think I've ever heard. So,
I think I hate it. When he goes out of the box, I fucking hate it, bro. I don't think he does well out of the box. He's in this box for a reason. He put himself there. Say just stay in your little box, bro. You're do good at this box, I promise.
Oh man, do you think any song on this, knowing him, is probably recorded in some like one of a kind machine that he got in an antique shop in like Kentucky that Harry Nilsson used to own or some shit?
I'm gonna just be real, bro. I don't give a fuck. Like, I just like his music because I like his music. But now that you say that, I'm thinking back and I'm realizing that some of these songs do sound a little different from one another, which did catch my ear a little bit while I was listening to it, but I didn't give many thoughts to it. But now that you're mentioning that, it probably was because it was recorded on a tin can that Elvis Presley once touched.
Yeah.
So I have to say probably.
Oh,
probably.
Man. It's the studio sketch from Portlandia every time.
Right.
Which is a sketch he is actually in, so he's qualified. Crow to Pet sounds with these. All right. We got one more album this week. It's the Anberlin album, dude. It's the goddamn pet sounds.
Oh my god.
All right, it's the Anberlin album, Vega. You've been a massive fan of the singles of this one, man. Did the full album live up?
Of course it did. Now, we not only are these singles, but this is basically just 2 new songs that we've heard from over the last couple of years. This is kind of a collection of the 2 EPs that they released.
Yeah.
We have 7 and Walk Alone, which are the new tracks. Both of those are fucking great. I'm not sure if it was like a band decision or a label decision to release the music like this. And as mad as it makes me, go ahead.
I think we got Walk Alone as a single. I think 7's the only new one.
Fuck it, maybe we did. As mad as it makes me when rollouts like this happen, I can't actually be mad at this, bro. This is fucking great, dude. All of these songs are fucking great. We've got Lacerate, which was my song of the week it dropped. We've got 7. It's a great song. Literally every other song. I fucking love it, bro. They killed it. I'll tell you what, they've got the vocalist that they've had for a long time, but Maddie Mullins has been filling in for vocals, who is from, I think, Miss May I in their live shows, and on a couple of studio tracks on this one, as you can tell, where he's credited. Look, man, they really went for it. They killed it. I love all of this. It's beautiful. It's post-hardcore. It's pretty. It's like heavy. It's got everything I like in, I guess, alternative music. And I can't find something I dislike about this album. I don't think it's quite a 10. It hasn't like spoken to me like that, but it's definitely an 8 to a 9. I love all of this, bro. So what did you think about it?
I agree with you, man. I mean, I didn't enjoy it quite as much as you, but I did really enjoy it. Like you said, with the exception of 7, we've listened to and talked about all of these songs, so I don't have a ton of new thoughts. But hearing the album in full definitely solidified what we already knew, and that is Anberlin still got it, man. They are arguably better now than they have ever been, depending on what your preferences are. Like most bands from the era that they come from, they've changed their sound a little over time, but not nearly as much as their peers. They still have what I would call that Anberlin sound. So if you listen to Two Graves and you go back and listen to Godspeed, you can tell it's the same band. But what changes they have implemented over time seem to be for the better. They've gotten a little more proggy, a little more grunge in their sound. We get some breakdowns and some unconventional song structures, but it's consistently good songwriting that kept me engaged with this one from start to finish. It's another 7 for me, but it's better than the score indicates. My standout is Lacerate, but I really like 7 too, especially that 2-minute breakdown at the end of it.
Yeah, that 2-minute breakdown is fucking great. I gotta say, man, this album rather, really, like, so it started, and like halfway through I was like, bro, Thrice could have released this. And it's like sounds like a Thrice album. I almost started my review with Thrice has another album on its way, on their way. But I mean that in like the biggest and like the best compliment that I possibly could, because Thrice changes their sound on like pretty much every record that they do. But this, like you said, has that Anberlin DNA, and they really did it on this one, bro. This just is the style of lighter, less proggy post-hardcore that I really fucking love. It's got that pop sensibility, yet we get some breakdowns and some fun moments. So I really enjoyed this one. I'm glad you did as well.
Fuck yeah, dude. These were a lot of fun albums to talk about this week, actually. I didn't really have a bad time with any of them.
Right.
All right. So we have another big release week coming up. We got new albums dropping this week from J Balvin, Big Sean, Nicki from 88 Rising. Chloe's dropping a new album. Raven Lene, King Gizzard, 4 Years Strong, and more. Make sure you follow along with the weekly rotating playlist. You can find the link to that in the show notes to keep up with what we will be covering on next week's episode. You can also find us on social media at Instagram and Reddit. Just search Brandon's Face Pod. Give us a follow. We will see you next time. Peace.
Peace.